Good day. This is the CFP Board Registered Programs Winter 2015 update. My name is Dr. Charles Chaffin. I'm Director of Academic Programs and Initiatives at CFP Board, and we're very glad to have you today. I want to mention that a recording of this webinar will be available in the coming weeks and will be posted on our site at cfp.net/registered programs. We will send notification out to all of our education partners that this webinar link is available, and certainly encourage you to share that with your colleagues and administrators within your school or college. So for today, we're going to talk about a couple of different items. First and foremost, just give a general overview of the CFP Board Registered Programs, as well as talk about the results of the job analysis, and then talk a little bit about the new registration requirements that are based somewhat upon the job analysis, as well as some other entities that we're going to be asking for relative to data sharing. We're going to talk about the Career Center, the new exam takers report for CFP Board Registered Programs, and finally the 2015 CFP Board Registered Program Conference. We will leave time for questions at the very conclusion of this webinar. So just a general overview of CFP Board Registered Programs. We currently have 373 total programs housed at 227 colleges and universities. You see the breakdown there: 127 baccalaureate programs, 191 certificate. We just reached the plateau of 50 master's programs early this year, and we have 5 doctoral programs, and there are currently 60 programs that are in some stage of development right now. The breakdown of that development is predominantly baccalaureate programs. The majority of those are housed within business schools, whether they're AACSB accredited or ACBSP accredited business schools. There are several that are housed in family and consumer sciences or agricultural economics, but you see the majority are at the baccalaureate level. I want to introduce Dr. Isabelle Gonthier. She has a PhD in cognitive psychology from the University of Ottawa in Canada, and has been providing her expertise in assessment, testing, and measurement for the past 12 years, and in research, statistics, and data analysis for over 15 years. Isabelle joined CFP Board as the Director of Examinations in September of 2014. She's also the Senior Director of Examinations and Certification Process at the Financial Planning Standards Council in Canada, and has held this position since 2011. As the head of the Examination Department, Isabelle is overseeing all aspects of the development and administration of the CFP examinations both in the U.S. and Canada. And we're very excited to have her as part of the team here with CFP Board, bringing her knowledge and expertise. And she's going to talk about the job analysis results, and then I'll get into how those specifically apply to our programs. Dr. Isabelle.
Thank you. So approximately every 5 years, the CFP Board conducts, in partnership with a large testing firm, a job task analysis, or a GTA study, for the practice of financial planning. So the job task analysis incorporates a multi-method approach that involves subject matter experts and also an analysis of emerging trends in the profession, also a large-scale survey of practicing CFP professionals and educators. The results of the job task analysis provide information about the tasks that are performed on the job, the knowledge requirements to perform the task. The results will form the basis for the evaluation of current certification standards and any recommendation in terms of modifying those same standards and changes to education, examination, experience, and continuing education. The job analysis is a very rigorous process that's based on best practices in high-stake credentialing, and it's an important piece of the certification process. The purpose of the job analysis, as per the slide, is to develop and validate task knowledge related to the work of CFP professionals, taking into consideration practice and emerging trends. It's also to develop test specifications or blueprints for the CFP exam and provide information to guide educational and professional development initiatives. On the next slide, we see the various steps in order to conduct that type of research. The first piece for the job task analysis is the research component, where information is collected about the task, about the job. There's interviews being conducted with practicing CFP professionals. Individuals that are involved at a different level in financial planning are being consulted. There was a group that was formed, which was the Job Analysis Task Force, in order to drive the process and determine, based on the job analysis from 2009 and the research on emerging trends, what would be the changes, addition, or things that we would see differently for this 2015 job analysis. So the Job Analysis Task Force developed the job task and the knowledge statements, and then after that it went through a validation survey where over close to 4,000 CFP professionals provided feedback on it, and based on that, the final determinations were made in terms of what would be included in the outcomes of the job task analysis, and also providing input into the test specifications for the CFP exam. The Council on Examination was very much involved as part of this process as well, in order to ensure and preserve the integrity of the examination process. In terms of the outcomes from this study, in terms of high-level changes for the knowledge topics more specifically, so as the process included a review of emerging trends, it really highlighted the importance of refining or adding some key components or key topics that would address the key elements here that are listed. First of all, there was a reorientation, more in terms of a title per se, of retirement planning to better reflect that it's not only retirement planning, but retirement savings and income planning. And there were some elements that were refined under that main topic. Also, one key element that came out from the process is the addition as a main category of education planning. So it was covered under the general principles of financial planning before. Now it's one main topic that is further defined. The other thing that came out from the research, the emerging trends, and the work with the Job Task Analysis Task Force was the importance of highlighting the holistic and integrated aspect of financial planning. And that is further fleshed out under the general principles of financial planning and through a new concept that we're introducing with this, which is the contextual variables. And we'll talk about the contextual variables a little bit later in the presentation. Another key aspect in terms of emerging trends is healthcare, and that's reflected under risk management and insurance planning, also under retirement savings and income planning, and through contextual variables. And finally, another key component to make sure to highlight was debt management, which is covered under the general principles of financial planning. So here what we can see are the main categories or the main knowledge topics that we have, and the test specifications from an exam perspective. So as you can see, we have professional conduct and regulation as one of the key topics, similar to what we had in the past. The general principles of financial planning, education planning as the new main topic, risk management and insurance planning, investment planning, tax planning, retirement savings and income planning, and estate planning. And the percentages that you see beside those are how it's going to be covered on the CFP examination, the weighting in terms of number of questions on the CFP examination. So now we're just going to go through a little bit more specifically through the changes from the job task analysis in comparison to 2009. We won't necessarily read through all of the topics as you see on the screens, but they're there on the screens, and then we will be sending you the key documents to have access to all of the detailed information in relation to the knowledge topics. So the first knowledge main category is professional conduct and regulation. So in here, there's not necessarily a lot of changes other than there's some topics being added, but added from the general principle of financial planning. So it's just repositioning of some of the topics. If you look at number 4, 5, 6, and 7 that you should see on the screen, These were previously under general practice, financial planning practice, and now they are covered under professional conduct and regulation. Then if we move to the next main topic, we have general principles of financial planning. And here, again, building from the changes that we've seen on the previous slide, that redirecting some of the topics to reorganize, one of the key things here is the addition of debt management in comparison to what we had in 2009. The rest of the topics are very similar to what you're used to from the 2009 job analysis. The third one is the one that's been added, education planning. So again, education planning was covered before under the general principle of financial planning as one topic. Now it was an opportunity to further flesh out what goes under education planning and considering the importance as well as part of financial planning. So you see those 5 topics that were covered all into one before that are now more defined and expanded. Then we have risk management and insurance planning. Here, one of the thing here, the title was modified a little bit. Before it used to be insurance planning. Now we're trying to expand this to reflect the risk management aspect of things. So that's the change to the main title. That's kind of one of the main changes. There's been one topic that has been removed from this list if you compare to 2009. Then under investment planning, we have a new topic, which is alternative investments. The rest is very similar to what you've seen before. Tax planning, title was slightly changed. It used to be income tax planning. Now it's tax planning to be a bit more inclusive. And basically very similar to what you've seen in the past. We've just removed one of the topics that was labeled as basis. It's been removed from this. And there's been slightly just reorientation, if you look at the last topic there, to charitable philanthropic contributions and deductions, just to try to reflect that from a broader base. And then we have retirement savings and income planning. As I've said before, there was an opportunity here to better reflect the complexity of this topic. And there were some elements that were added here, like Medicaid was expanded from what it was before to better reflect the importance of this. And then there was some expansion in terms of retirement income and distribution strategies. And also for business succession planning was also expanded a little bit based on what was there before. And finally, we have estate planning. Here, one of the main changes you'll see is probably more in terms of the volume. There used to be 17 topics under estate planning. Now we're looking at 10 topics. We haven't necessarily lost anything. It's just that it's been better framed. It was probably a little too granular in the past. Now it was just restructured, reoriented to better reflect exactly what estate planning is and not necessarily to give this an additional weight compared to other main topics. As I've mentioned, one of the key outcomes from this process for the job task analysis in 2015 is really looking at what we call contextual variables. So this is the idea that it came out from the emerging trends analysis, the discussions and all that, to make sure we're not losing sight of key elements that are impacting client situation. Those are not necessarily knowledge topics, but they're overarching all of the different knowledge topics. And they need to be considered in terms of situation with a client. They will impact how you deal with the different financial planning components. We refer to them as contextual variable, and they are used as part of content development for case-based scenarios, for exam questions. And we're looking at these as that any situations, any financial planning situations would require the application of financial planning knowledge for different types of clients. And when we're talking about different types of clients, we're talking about different types of family status. So, we can talk about traditional families, single parents, same-sex couples, blended families, widowhood. We're looking at net worth is another component, ultra-high net worth, high net worth, mass affluent, emerging affluent, mass market, looking at different situations that would be impacted by the income level. Also looking at life or professional stages that would kind of impact different situations and how you deal with the financial planning component. Being a student, starting a career, career transition, pre-retirement, retirement as well, and other circumstances such as health issues, divorce, change of employment status, aging parents, and special needs children. So in terms of moving forward with the implementation and application of the outcomes of this 2015 job analysis Dr. Chaffin will talk about it a little bit more in terms of what it means to you, but high level, there's going to be some new knowledge topics that would be included in the Financial Planning Competency Handbook. Then they will be looking at requirements for registered programs and implementation for August 2015. And also one of the big aspects is for the CFP examination, obviously. We're looking at implementing pre-test items as of the July and November 2015 exams in order to be ready for full implementation for the March 2016 CFP examination.
Thank you very much, Dr. Isabelle. So one thing I want to highlight there is that all of these, as she went through all of the topic areas, we'll make sure that that's certainly going to be available both in the renewal packets as well as at cfp.net/registered programs for you to begin to look at immediately. So getting into the 2015-2016 biennial renewal process, we are at the beginning of the new cycle. This will be our second biennial cycle. And I want to talk a little bit about some of the changes. So walking through the renewal document, which is also available at the Registered Programs webpage, the Section 1 is unchanged. It's the program profile. Same descriptors are necessary as before. Section 2, program contact information, same as before, no changes there. Program description is the same. I will say that one of the areas that we have, there are several areas that we've highlighted in the last renewal process, and I'll talk about several of those. And the first one here is that average program completion time and how you determine that. I think that's really important, particularly on the certificate side, and there are varying levels of thought, I think, that have been put into those in some of the renewals that we've gotten in the last 2 years. And I think that's a critical point, because one of the things that in my conversations with certificate programs about sustainability, the discussion comes about with regard to recruitment of students and retention. Retention is something that we are looking at beginning to look at this year. I'll talk about that more in a second. But that notion of completion time of the program is a huge variable, particularly for certificate programs. And in some cases in these conversations, it seems like there's some opportunities there relative to completion time. And sometimes it's not that the program is too long, just too long. Sometimes the program's too short. So I think it's really important to make sure that you're documenting what it is the average completion time is and how you've come about determining what that may be. Section 4 is a brand new section. For Section 4, we are asking for enrollment data for each of the CFP Board Registered Programs. For both of these variables, for matriculation enrollment and for midpoint enrollment, the institution, you all will decide what those points are. Matriculation for most programs of study can be certainly is the start of the first course that is registered with CFP Board. If it's a certificate program that's specifically designed for CFP, for meeting the CFP Board education requirement, then matriculation can be as your institution defines it. And midpoint enrollment is the same thing. There are 373 programs, and in a lot of cases there are hundreds of different possibilities for defining that midpoint. And so it's important that you all define what it is and then document it. This goes back to this point regarding program completion and about retention. All of you that are representing an institution of higher learning in this country are talking about, on your campus, they're talking about retention and program completion, and we are looking at that as well. It's important to note that we are at a documenting stage of this. So when you're documenting these enrollment numbers, It's not as if the program is going to be rejected because you've provided data that would suggest something in the midpoint that would be particularly low. It's an opportunity for all of us together to find out where we are and then looking at benchmarking perhaps later. Enrollment, we'll be asking for aggregate enrollment data relative to race and ethnicity. The breakdown of those is we've adopted the Department of Education guidance on reporting. This is nothing new that all of you are reporting for other accrediting bodies, for other oversight bodies, campus bodies, and so we're asking for it here. We're not asking for it relative to any point in the program of study, but we're asking for it just as an overall aggregate number for each program. As you're well aware, the CCI, Certification Completion Initiative reports were launched last year in May. Those are available on the password-protected portal that's at the link that's provided there. If you have an issue with your password or username, or you have a new person who may be part of the program and needs to get one, feel free to email registeredprograms@cfpboard.org to gain it. Those reports are available monthly, along with the national averages. So for this part of the biennial registration process, in that first column, it is the graduates who have established an account, that percentage relative to the date. So if you have a renewal date of April 1st, it would make sense to put in the January 31st or the February 28th date. Hopefully if you're not putting in March 31st, because it would be last minute, right? But if you put in an earlier date, you want to list it there. You get that from the portal. And then what's your target? What is it that you as an institution are targeting for the next renewal cycle? So if you have 70% of the names that you're submitting to us have an account, what are you hoping for in the next 2 years? Are you hoping to get it to 80% or 85% or 100% or whatever it might be? Same thing for graduates sitting for the exam. What is the percentage of when you downloaded that document for the purpose of this renewal, and what is your target? We are not dictating a universal benchmark here, but we want to work together to figure out what is a reasonable target. And as I mentioned, our programs are incredibly diverse, and that diversity is really important, and it's a wonderful attribute to our consortium of colleges and universities. So it's important that you all decide what a reasonable target may be. So looking at that CCI report, what we're focusing on are the first two variables that are circled on this chart. Passing the exam and certified are indirect measures of program quality. But the first two are, having your students who have a CFP board account and sitting for the exam, encouraging them to sit for the exam, are elements that programs have a higher degree of control. You could certainly make the argument that sitting for the exam is not complete control like matching a CFP board account. There's really no reason why we can't have 100% of students enrolled in our programs at least having an account. But for sitting for the exam, a thoughtful target, and you don't have full control over that, but you certainly have some control when it comes to talking about the benefits of certification. The large majority of initial applications for our programs in the statement of objectives say the objective of having a financial planning program that's consistent with the mission of the institution and the support and promotion of CFP certification. So that's where this comes in, this notion of supporting CFP certification and moving forward with that. So going back to this chart, what is the target? What is that are reasonable targets for you in the next 2 years? And this is also important to document that in the letter that goes back to your dean in saying, here's the reasonable target. We're thinking about doing X, Y, and Z to help improve that. And maybe the dean needs to be more supportive, and a letter from me might be helpful in that regard. But I want to be really clear here with this, that this is not a universal benchmark. It's about setting reasonable targets based upon your institution. And we are at really an initial phase of all of this. So the window of the report, as all of you are aware, is from 2012 to now. And so it's really initial data. And so we want to be really thoughtful about how we go forward in looking at what's appropriate and what isn't. And the best step to do that is to empower you all to look at these variables and improve upon them. So the next question is, so you've set your target relative to CCI reports, the first two variables. What actions do you plan to do to improve upon them? Are you going to somehow embed getting a free CFP board account into the first class in your program of study? Are you going to engage practice in talking about the benefits of CFP certification more? There's lots of different ways to go about doing that. What is your plan for improving upon this? Watching the data closely since May has been really fascinating. And what I've noticed more in talking, particularly with administrators, that it is great to have a quantitative number now relative to success. And I think that it's been supported almost universally from everyone that I've talked with, and we see it as a powerful tool in working together. Those actions, we are aggregating all of the data. Obviously, everything that your individual institution sends to us is private and it's confidential, but we do aggregate it, and we look at that data very carefully to better understand the challenges and successes of your program so that we can work better together in this collaborative process. Question 3 is exactly the same for this biennial registration as it was in the previous one. Student-centered learning objectives in your program. If so, how? The overwhelming majority of our programs, of course, are using student-centered learning objectives, and not because we are highly encouraging it, but because somebody across your campus is requiring it. I should note that the learning objectives document it was validated. The new topics will have the new learning objectives, and those will be disseminated later this year. The current topics, so the 78 topic list, that list is currently available, as all of you are aware. Section 5 is the self-evaluation. This is a next step in the first step of from the first step in the self-evaluation that we started in 2013 and 2014. To be really clear, it is not expected that you perform a full program evaluation again. You just did it 2 years ago. Now, we had over 25% of our programs did not do a thorough program evaluation, and in those cases, programs essentially were asked and did submit a letter from their administrators saying, we fell short with our self-assessment, but we're planning on doing it. And so in that case, we do want to see the program evaluation. But if you've just gone through it, it's not expected that you're going to do a full evaluation every 2 years. I want to be really clear about that. But we want to start looking at these things longitudinally. So question 1, describing areas of strength that were not outlined in the previous self-evaluation. You also will need to get a copy of your review letter from 2013 to 2014. So in all of those letters, I've documented what you said were strengths of your program. So it would be, I should have mentioned that, so I'll mention it now. You want to make sure you get that letter probably before you even start. This question is really important because this question is going to be, your answer to this question is going to go back to your administrator. So touting your strengths is really important, and I'm going to regurgitate those right back to that review letter. And the only instance where I won't do that is if your methodology is suspect, that you're not going through a good methodology in defining these strengths. You know, if you're just saying, well, I said so, that's probably not something that's going to warrant a letter to the dean. But this question is to help you get a better letter for your program. And quite frankly, the second question is too. So again, weaknesses of your program that you didn't outline in the previous evaluation or were present in the previous review and they just haven't been addressed yet. And so some of this goes to the point of program support, right? You have an issue with enrollment. You have an issue with faculty. You have an issue with program completion. Document these things. The program's not going to get denied registration because you're being thoughtful about and airing your weaknesses. but it's going to help us help you, and it's also going to help in sending a letter that's going to make recommendations to help you get more support for the program. Again, third question, how have you identified these areas? If you did a thorough evaluation in 2013, 2014, you don't need to again. But this might be a point to say, well, we have an advisory board, and in the last 2 years, our advisory board has met, and we've done X, Y, and Z based upon that or whatever. Question 4, if you still have these reoccurring weaknesses, what's your plan? How are you going to go about addressing some of these issues? And then getting into what have you done previously. So this actually should be question 5. How have you identified the weaknesses and what are you going to do? What's the next step there? Question 5, what are future opportunities relative to the program? So what would you like to see down the road? What's your vision for the program? And again, this is a great opportunity politically for the program to say, what are you hoping to do? Are you hoping to, if you're a degree program, are you hoping to establish a little bit more opportunities for accessibility of the program across campus? Are you looking at maybe, if you're program house in agricultural economics, are you looking at maybe partnering with family and consumer sciences or offering general electives course? Or if you don't have a financial literacy course at the freshman and sophomore level to really recruit for the program, are you thinking about that? If you're a certificate program, are you thinking more about practitioner engagement or putting an advisory board together that can help you in recruiting students? Those types of things can be really helpful to document it again, and then I'm certainly going to look at that in the letter and promote it to help you with our shared objective. So because we, as Dr. Isabelle talked about, we have a new topic list that goes into effect in August of this year. As you saw, it's not a radical list at all. So in looking at it, how you've configured your topics, which are very different, particularly amongst degree programs, but even a lot of certificate programs, I don't envision you making, you're not going to make any changes to your coursework unless you really want to. There's not going to be a reason to do that. But there's going to need to be some things. So certainly fleshing out education planning and looking at a lot of the syllabi here. I see a lot of our programs already making that distinction across education planning. So for some, I don't see hardly any changes. But nevertheless, if you're a program that has a renewal date between now and July of 2015, we are currently still under the 78 topics. So there are 2 different renewal applications online, and you're going to get your notification here very soon about a reminder of when your renewal is. But if your renewal date's before July or before August 1st, then you want to document the 78 topics just like you did before, and then there is the new topic list, the 72. And what you need to do there is essentially all you're going to do is sign the document stating we are addressing this, we know that we need to make the change effective August 1st, and we're going to do that. It really is that simple. So points to consider with this renewal process. Again, you're not expected to go through a thorough self-evaluation every 2 years. If you want to go through another self-evaluation, it's certainly beneficial. But the opportunity here is to elaborate upon any weaknesses. I should be more positive here too and say elaborate upon any strengths as well. And then how have you addressed some of the things? So going back to that review letter, there were things in there that were recommendations or identified weaknesses relative to criteria. Where are we with that? What are you planning to do to improve that as we think a little bit more long-term about these evaluations? And we're asking for enrollment data, as I mentioned, CCI data, looking at the first 2 metrics. The terms and conditions agreement for registered programs are now up for renewal during this cycle. So that will be part of the packet. I am certainly aware that getting somebody across campus to sign a terms and conditions agreement, particularly with our partner public institutions, which is the large majority of you, is a challenge. And I don't want to hold up the registration process because of that terms and conditions agreement. So you can send in the renewal application separately and submit the terms and conditions agreement when it's completed. We need to get them done. If you're a 2015 renewal, my suggestion would be to get that terms and conditions agreement across campus or to whoever needs to get it sooner than later so we can get it wrapped up at least by the end of the year. But I don't want to hold up the process. I want to get the other points set, and we can move forward with the process. Programs renewing between, as I mentioned, between January and July need to document the 78 topics because they're still in effect, but then also indicate that you're aware of the change coming effective August 2015. You'll be reminded of your 2015 renewal date by the 13th. A lot of those emails are actually going to go out today. You're certainly welcome to contact the department about your renewal. There are some programs that had, because of their initial approval, had a February date of this year, and that's not reasonable. So you're going to get a date that for those folks that are in February for April 1st to give you adequate time to get ready for this. Obviously, as we said through the first cycle, this isn't really a process that is something you can just take on 3 days before the deadline. It does require some thought so that this is a meaningful process. Those of you that have been with us for a few years know that we used to do an annual renewal, and that was kind of an administrative hurdle for the sake of being administrative, and we don't want to do that. We want this to be a process that's going to be helpful to you, but obviously it needs to be taken seriously by everybody involved. I want to talk about, I want to move on to the CFP Board Career Center, and we're really pleased to have Dr. Lisa Andrews as manager of the Career Center. She received her BS in psychology from Elizabethtown College, her MS in counseling and human relations from Villanova University, and her PhD in higher education from the University of Arizona. She's formerly the Director of Career Services at the University of Maryland University College, and we're really excited to have her as part of the staff and working with the Career Center. So, Dr. Andrews?
Thank you. So we really feel like, of course, at this point, your students are in transition or they're going to be in transition. So we feel that the Career Center is a way to bridge the gap between education and employment. So by offering jobs and potential internships and that sort of thing to your students, we're really giving them the opportunity to move forward in their career, in their life, from the time that they graduate until they enter their first job, or even before that and they enter their first internship. So the CFP board really can reach out to over 71,000 CFP professionals, as well as the connections that we have with you at our registered programs, to, again, make connections between the firms that we have in our database and firm contacts that we have who are seeking employees in the financial services industry, and your students who are seeking opportunities in the industry. So this is a snapshot of what the Career Center looks like from the employer side. And just to let you know, employers do have access to resumes that are made public on the site by job seekers. However, the employers have to register and pay for an active job listing before they can access the resumes. So the resumes are not public to anyone. They're really only public to active employers that have jobs posted in the system. So employers are able to post jobs. They're also able to search resumes on a variety of criteria. They can do a targeted search based on any criteria really that's reported by the applicant. So, for example, location. So they want all applicants in the state of Connecticut. They can certainly search by that. So the benefits to the job seekers, really we see this as sort of 3 points in their career or in their life. The internship, which is their first really entree into the field of financial services, their first job, where they're going to begin their career, become licensed and that sort of thing. And then as a career changer as well, as they evolve in their career and they develop new skills and new abilities and they want to change careers, change jobs, this site can help them do that as well as they move forward. So this is a picture of the site from the job seeker side. And as you can see, a couple of call outs. They can upload their resume there. We have some featured jobs there, a listing of the jobs and the employers. And information also, there are resources on the site that you can't actually see here, but for example, on entering the financial planning profession, as well as interviewing skills and that sort of thing, so they can look into all of those topics as well as search for jobs on the site. So they can, again, they can post their resume, these are the featured jobs, and they can learn more about the CFP certification as well. And then, so for more information, the web, you can find the Career Center in really two ways. The direct link is here, cfp.net/career-center. However, if you just go to cfp.net, in the upper right corner, there's a tab on the website that says Career Center. So that's probably the easiest way to remember how to get to the Career Center. We do have a flyer that you can download that's indicated there, and that's on the website as well. If you have any questions, you can email me personally, landrews@cfpboard.org, or the Career Center box as well gets checked at careercenter@cfpboard.org.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Andrews. And that's it's an important tool as we work together in really building capacity in the profession. Moving on, one of the things that we talked about was just the whole concept of data sharing between our education partners and CFP Board, and it's a really important point. We've begun that certainly with the CCI reports, with the self-assessment data, enrollment data, and so this last piece is the list of, well, probably not the last piece, but the next piece, rather, is the list of exam takers from each CFP Board Registered Program. So we announced this last year, and it is finally available. So effective now, each CFP Board Registered Program will have access to the list of individuals who have sat for each exam from their program. That's available at that same site that has your Ed verification, where you download or where you upload your Ed verification completers, your CCI reports, and then this document. It is based upon each program, not institution, and there's an important caveat here that if your program has less than 10 individuals that have sat for the previous exam, then you won't get a report, and that's just merely to protect individual identity. Now, if you accumulate 10 graduates who have taken the exam from a particular program, once you get to that 10, then all of them will be shown for the next exam cycle. And then if you never get to 10, which that'll be none of our programs, but if you don't, it'll be 3 cycles that will finally tell you who sat for the exam. So this is an important piece. This is something that a lot of you have asked for. I know it's something that we did in the past, and it's important that we institute it once again. We are asking, certainly when we look at CCI data, that we're asking for you all to continue with this shared objective, and this is a tool to help you do that. So we're really excited about it. It is available right away. Again, registered programs at cfpboard.org is the place to email if you don't have a username and password to get access to that data. And here it is. It is. So you look, you see, you've got the upload eligibility list, the CCI report, where you can get that monthly, and the exam takers report will be available right there. So the 2015 CFP Board Registered Program Conference is coming already, and we're very excited. This year's theme is building capacity for the future. So we'll be talking about a lot of different things, certainly talking about the renewal process. We'll be talking about curriculum instruction, as we always do, but certainly we'll be doing a lot, we'll be continuing with the Firms Night, and we'll be talking about a lot of other elements relative to research, relative to the Career Center. This is something that we really see has been adding. Every year we seem to be not only adding content, but adding attendees. And last year we shattered our record for attendance, and expect that we'll do so again. I urge you to think about submitting to present. The deadline usually is April 30th, but it's March 1st this year. So please note that if you're looking to submit, a proposal to present, it needs to be in by March 1st, which I know that means that I will get most of them on February 28th. So I'm looking forward to that. But please note the deadline because we want to get the agenda set, and I know you all do as well. So as far as what to submit, I think that certainly, I think there's still opportunities to talk about the renewal process. We did that last year, but I think it was one of our most popular sessions. Folks that learned a lot from that, folks that did really well with that. I think that's an important piece. Anything relative to elements of curriculum instruction, ways of facilitating learning relative to our requirements, induction, preparing individuals for the profession is really important, engaging practice. All those different types of sessions I think will be very helpful. And those are for concurrent sessions for sharing amongst faculty and administration. So certainly research. There are opportunities for, I think, submitting a research proposal, looking at some things that might be on your agenda or papers that you're considering. Also, of course, we'll be once again doing the Firms Night. We'll have more information about the Firms Night in the coming months. It was it seemed from all accounts that it was a great success. It was the matching part is a challenge, as all of you are aware, in trying to get everybody their first three choices. I think we did a pretty good job of that last year, trying to accommodate everyone, and we'll continue to do that this year. But that engagement is really important, as you all know, and we were really excited about how it went, and are looking forward to doing it once again. Graduate research poster sessions, we just didn't have enough last year. We had the ones we had were great, but we didn't have enough, and so we certainly encourage submissions, both at the doctoral and at the master's level. Folks that might be working on a thesis are welcome to submit, and whether or not it is the paper is at the data collection stage or at the analysis stage really doesn't matter. I think it's important to get some of these research ideas out and onto a poster and shared with some of our education partners. So please encourage your students to submit. Of course, if you're a faculty member and you want to submit a research poster, we would love to see that as well. I'm going to take we're going to take a 3-minute break, and then if you've got questions, we will answer those. So we'll take 3 minutes, and we'll start at 52 past the hour. So regarding questions, so the first question, if we don't have all the changes to the curriculum in place by August 1st for a September renewal, what are the consequences? Well, we would certainly hope that you would have those changes. What I would say to that is if there is some extenuating circumstances, and extenuating circumstance could certainly be when the calendar of the program. We have programs that run in all different calendars and start and stop times and whatnot. So if there's a change that hasn't happened to a course that hasn't started yet, and you're documenting that, and you're going to say, I can't really envision what this scenario might be, but I would say if the course hasn't started yet, hasn't started after August 1st, and it's not going to start till well after the renewal, but you send a letter saying we will have it in place, we will address it, then I don't think that will be a big deal. But we really do think that it's important to have it addressed by August 1st, particularly if you have a course that's starting immediately after that. What is meant by pre-test items being used on the July and November 2015 exams? Dr. Isabelle.
And what we mean by that is that for every single CFP examinations, we have a small number of questions that we call pre-test items or experimental items where they don't count towards the final score for the exam for the candidate, but we are making sure that those questions are working. We're getting stats on the questions before they become actual questions to appear on a CFP exam. So what we mean by that is that by July 2015 and November 2015, we're going to have some questions on the new topics that we have from the 2015 job task analysis appearing as pre-test items on the exam.
Thank you for that. Next question, will you be moving toward the use of learning outcomes rather than broad topics? Well, we certainly have the learning objectives document, and we developed that in 2011 based upon the 2009 and that job analysis. And we validated that last year, and we will be editing that document based upon the new job task analysis, and that is we have gone the route from our oversight perspective of it being highly encouraged. Now, with regard to our process of education in the exam and whatnot, the learning objectives document is something that we will be using as some guide with regard to the development of questions. This is something that Dr. Isabelle and I have talked about quite a bit. So the learning objectives document will be used as a guide for the item writers in the development of the process. Will you send us these slides? We will send, as I mentioned at the beginning, we will make the entire presentation available at cfp.net/registered programs available. It takes a while to do formatting, and our IT folks have to do all kinds of magical things to make that happen, and so it takes a little while, but once it's up and running, we will be sending that out. It will also be sending out the formal notification that registration for the Registered Program Conference is up. We'll have an early bird special. So both of those notifications will go out probably in the same email and directly. Suggestions with regard to what we could communicate to students in terms of advantages of registering at the time of enrollment. Well, it's a great question, and it is something that communicating with students has been something that we haven't traditionally done much, but that has we are evolving that process and looking at some significant changes. Certainly, access to a number of webinars. We did a webinar last year regarding the talk about the demystification of the exam, talking about certification requirements. We're certainly looking at opportunities of engaging folks with an account regarding possible offers for elements of certification. And so it's really critical that folks that are thinking about becoming CFPs engage with us relative to getting an account, so we can engage them. Next question: how will you screen potential employers on the job board? In particular, will the employer have to have a specific retention rate, Dr. Andrews?
Well, we are screening employers in terms of their sort of not really viability, but whether they are a legitimate employer, whether we have a relationship with them at the CFP board. So we want to make sure that their opportunities are valid opportunities for our potential users, as well as the company being a viable company. Because there's plenty of scams out there. There are plenty of job boards that I've worked with who have potential employers that are really non-existent or shell corporations. So we're definitely going to be screening them for that. In particular, about retention rates, we're not going to screen for that. We're going to sort of leave that up to the company to determine that. So we're just really going to screen for the suitability of the company for our applicants.
Thank you for that, Dr. Lisa. Collecting student ethnicity data may be more difficult than you are assuming. I would be surprised if most of us had direct access to that information due to FERPA concerns. Will we be flexible for the first few cycles? There will be a flexibility there. You know, the how we're defining this should not be a FERPA issue. I think where the issue may need to be, there may need to be some flexibility, is particularly with folks that have programs that are concentrations and specializations. So I know that could be a challenge, and so there will be some flexibility there, but it is important to note, you know, we're not going to ask for something from our colleges and universities that's going to be that's going to put you in some sort of danger of violating FERPA or any other state or federal mandate. Talked about the account. Will the questions on the test be matched with the domains or the learning objectives document? Dr. Isabelle.
So the questions on the exam will be matched to the knowledge topics and also as a secondary to the domains as well. But principally with the blueprint parameters, the test specification parameters, it's to the knowledge topics.
Dr. Isabelle and Dr. Andrews are far more succinct than I am. I need to take notes. I think this question is with regard to engagement of students, and we see that as an opportunity to talk about the certification. I think that there are opportunities to talk about the benefits of the profession and things like that. So we don't necessarily see this as primarily a marketing effort. I think the marketing effort will be a part of that, but it has to be more than that. We do see this as a supplemental opportunity, and as we've talked about in terms of an induction instrument in the profession, to the profession rather. And as far as as far as the CFP board account, we have some information about that. You have to feel free to email registered programs at cfpboard.org for that, or look at our registered programs webpage. This was a lot of information, a lot of really important information, and certainly want to thank my colleagues for participating today. One of the other things that we're going to be doing is having we have periodic webinars, but also periodic webinars regarding the renewal process, just to make sure that everybody that's coming up for renewal has an opportunity to participate and ask their questions, so that we can that we're going forward on the going forward in a fruitful and positive way. So thank you very much, and I look forward to working with all of you in the new year, and have a good day.